Today is step number 4 in the little experience or exploration of how to get out of the matrix. Yesterday, we talked about that you need to realize who you are at the core as your divine expression, separate from the matrix. And of course, like I said, that in itself could be a lifelong exploration. Although I do believe that the duration is getting shorter because the energies have been building and building, and the move, the push to get out of this illusion that we live in is much stronger now than, for instance, when I started, whatever, 40 years ago or something, where there was not as much around that as there is today. So in that way, it might be a benefit to really start doing the work now if you are a beginner, or if you're in the middle of it or at the end of it. There is still that sense that we do need to learn to fully let go and realize who we are. So today is about how do we do that? And that, of course, it's another one like, okay, Pernilla, just give me the 10 or 15-minute wrap how to do that, and I'm off. And it doesn't work that way. It's another maybe lifetime, or maybe, a month, a year, 10 years. I don't know. It's a process, and it gets easier over time. And then there's times where it seems like it's getting harder. I've gone through that a lot, where in the past it was just, there was much more flow. But like I say, the energies are so different today than they were when I started out. And there seems to be much more push from the energies that have been covering us, like this veil or this overlay that we've been living in and under, as if that's who we are. And somehow I'm just going to call it right now, doesn't just want to let go. So there is something in there that wants to hold on to this false identity. And as we express more of our light and turn more within, many times there will be a push from the outside that wants to match that expansion. And keep going, keep going. Surround yourself with people who are on the same path. Very helpful, because together we can harness more of that light that we are. And that, of course, creates more dissolution of the darkness that just needs light, but is not so willing to receive it. So that's one part of it. Then there is the recognizing of it, which I've talked about, and the disengaging from it. The more we know who we are, the more we have something to lean back into, rest back into, and be more like an open vessel for this light to do what it does naturally, which is shine. And as the light meets the darkness just evaporates, because it really is just a lack of light. But as long as we are not shining our light, we are so identified with the darkness. And the way we are identified is through our emotions, our attachments, our holding on, grasping. That is what I have seen in my life, that is where I can unhook, is my emotional attachments to this third dimensional illusion. Now, it is a huge task, because everything that our lives are involved and engaged in is the illusion, is the matrix. It's everything. And that's why it's so hard to take that step back, because everything feels like it's real. Like everything, your finances, your relationships, your education, your health, your education. I said that. Just everything. You're going shopping, you're spending money, you're receiving money. Everything that you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and think. That is the illusion, and it is so hard to grasp that. I have grasped it to a certain extent that I sense it most of the time, but I have been in this energy for many, many years. And it has taken me time, and there are still things in my life that feel more real than my true identity. So, it really is a process, and I'm not going to, pretend that I'm there when I'm not. But I do want to share what is my reality, or my truth, and then see where that goes. So the emotional attachment to what we like and what we don't like, that in itself is a very good start to what you like and what you don't want to let go of in this third dimensional illusion, and what you don't like and what you keep resisting in this same third dimensional illusion. Those are the things that you can start noticing, where you either grasp it or push against it, and it's still your energy that goes to trying to change the illusion. So I think I mentioned it last time also, just to become aware, where you are engaging more than maybe necessary. It could be, all the opinions we have, opinions about politics, opinions about health, opinions about the government, opinions about other people, genders, races, anything. Those opinions are all created up here and experienced through our senses and projected out and feeding the illusion. Just so you know that when you do that, you are keeping that alive, which you actually want to pull back from. Recognizing it, becoming aware of it is huge. As you keep doing that, you also start practicing to not touch it emotionally. And Joel has talked about the first step in healing is basically your reaction. Our reaction to something. It's the same as touching it, because it's an emotional reaction. It's an emotional touching it. So it's learning to become aware of how and when you react or touch it emotionally. And are you able to just pull back a little bit? And when you pull back a little bit, bring your attention and your curiosity with an openness to show me what is true. What is true? I talked about that, I think, on the last video. The way I experience it is that there is, I would call it a dark energy that is covering all of us. And this energy is experienced in us as limitation, emotional self-loathing, not believing we are worth anything, lovable, likable, wanted. There are some of these deeper emotional beliefs and emotional attachments to that belief, because it comes with oh, nobody likes me. Oh, I better not move out into the world because I'm going to get resistance. People are going to not like me. All that is that overlay that holds you in bondage to the illusion, because the illusion, the overlay, the matrix is made of that. it's not easy to just step out of it by seeing it. What I have seen in my work for so many years is that when you get to these deep core beliefs of I'm not good enough, nobody likes me, I can't do it, I can't, it's also it's a big one, there's this belief that we're limited and unworthy, I'm unworthy. Those are so ingrained in all of us. And I have seen people do such deep work, including myself. And yet, that little sucker, it's just there. And it's just kind of there in the background. And that's what makes it so hard to step out of it and then out of it into our true essence, because it feels emotionally so true that we're unworthy and not good enough and limited, that we can't do it, that it seems very, very hard to step out of it. But you can step out of it more and more and start becoming aware of how that keeps pulling you in. In my experience, again, it feels like it didn't want to give up. It was relentless, even though I didn't believe it anymore or really feel it anymore. It was just there. And then I could just kind of sense that energy. And sometimes I would still believe it, but then I could pull out of it. And I've seen this in so many people who are out there, teachers, lots and lots of followers, spiritual teachers. I've seen this in so many of them because I know many of these people, and it's just this little sucker, that keeps clinging on. But we need to surrender. We need to let it go, and you can't just do that with your mind. So a lot of the deeper work in releasing from these energies is actually many times to go fully into them and fully feel them to the core. And it is awful. I know I'm not sounding very inspiring here, but it's pretty awful to really go into that. I remember years ago, I finally wanted to face this one that, what was it? I think it was something like nobody wants me or nobody cares about me or care what I have to say. That was one of my core flavors. And it was just there, no matter what I did. So one day I said, okay, we're going. I'm just going to go in there and feel it. I think I was doing it for a couple of days. And first I would say something like, my God, if it's really true that nobody cares about what I have to say or cares about me, that was so painful. So I actually went to the feeling of the belief that this was really true. And I went in and I felt that deep pain, and there were tears and there was despair. It was just awful. But I would go there and I would release a lot, and then it would happen again a few hours later. I think I took a couple of days to really work this energy. And when I came to the bottom or the core of it, I felt I had a choice, which I didn't feel when I was out here just feeling it and being impacted by it and trying to resist it and avoid it and rise above it and love it and all that stuff. I just went in, and the way in is not that hard when you are willing to go there and when you're willing to stop resisting it. Then you just go. It's like, I'm just going to feel it. And it's like, wah, wah. So at the core, I saw I had a choice. And the choice is always, when I do this deeper work, is like, you know what? I do not want to give my energy to that anymore. I just don't. And it comes with this resolve, which I have talked about, where I'm done with that. I'm done. There's a strong energy in that. And that's what's worked for me over the years. And then feeling like, well, what do I want then? What is the depth of my longing? And then you will find something that is very different than what you have been giving your energy to unconsciously, mostly. And then you find that, and then you start really nurturing that or nourishing that as your new expression or the new way that you want to give energy to something. And it is this deep longing for something that is so real and precious and beautiful. And as you may have heard of some of my videos, mine is I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. And that has been my trump card that basically has to trump every other thing that shows up, because this is what I want. And this does not match it by any stretch. So when then this old one will come up like, oh, nobody cares what you have to say. It's like, Pernilla, do you really want this? That's where the choice shows up. And it showed up for me in the depth. And then I bring that with me. And then when these things show up, and if I catch it in time or later, then I go like, oh, no, that's right. I don't want to do that anymore. We're done with that. So part of letting go of the matrix is to find these deep emotional beliefs and attachments that keep us stuck in there. I don't think everybody can go straight in there right away. I couldn't. I think a lot of the self-love, nurturing, allowing, softening, the tight grip of attachment, then little by little you have this energy liberated where you can say, okay, I'm going to go in. If you're too attached and too stuck, grasping too much, you probably don't have what it takes to go into these deep feelings. And so you won't do it. But when enough energy is released, then you will have a choice. And then you have more and deeper choices. And they will stay with you during the day. Not all the time. I do get pulled in, but not for that long. So that is how I would say that is when you connect with your deeper longing in your heart and make that your abiding place and reminder of when this pulls you out or tries to pull you out. You have created an energetic resolve that is very strong. And then you can always go there. So there is something to be said about the world that we live in. And I want to add that to today's little talk, which may be a little longer than I'm planning on, but I want to just share that. What also has helped me is to really see what's happening in the world and ask yourself, is this really normal? Or I should say, is this really natural? Is it natural that there are always wars, that there is famine, that there is fighting and disagreement and greed and disease that we need to protect ourselves against all the time, that there's all these lies, and then there's these stories, and then there's the opposite stories. There is so much division in the world now, more than ever before, I think. And we have to ask ourselves, is this natural? Is this a divine expression Is this what I want to give my energy to? And there has to be a clear no in you where you feel done. Until we feel done emotionally, we will just go along with it. And bless your heart, there's nothing wrong with that. It's been going on for so long. But if you feel ready to start creating a new expression in the world on planet Earth, then you need to go to where that expression is already living. It's already here. And we just need to tap into it as the longing, because what we long for is something that is already here. Otherwise, we couldn't long for it. There is something here that is invisible to our senses, but it is visible or sensible to our inner sense or our soul sense. And that is what we need to open up to and give ourselves to, make ourselves available for, vessels for that to come out and express itself. We can only do that when we're done with this. If you still want something in this world and experience that, and what we talked about, we still want the good, but we don't want the bad, then you are in that duality of good and bad or right and wrong. So we need to pull back from that. And my best entry or exit door from that to here is really feeling what I deeply long for, what world I do want to live in and be part of. And that will be the motivator to stop these things out there. Getting outside help is so important. Most of us cannot do that on our own because we are simply too stuck in it. We're too blind to our own stuckness. And having a fresh pair of eyes from the outside who is able to see more than you are, than I am, that opens up a gap for us to see that also. But if we're just doing it on our own, there's a very good chance you might just get more stuck in this, thinking you're doing the right thing. And I'm not saying you cannot do it on your own, because there are people who are, but for most of us, we do need help, literally. I am still part of, the Joel Goldsmith, who was my first spiritual awakening foundation, I would say. I'm still meditating, listening to his tapes, and being part of groups where we meditate together and dive into this together. And in that, I feel there's a lot more light that can shine out as we do it together. And if I get stuck somewhere, I definitely reach out, because I know that I can't do it on my own. And many times, in the knowing that I can't do it on my own, I can actually now be present with that on my own, knowing that I can't do it on my own. And in that, there is a deeper surrender. But if I get stuck somewhere, you can be sure I reach out for support. So this is kind of what I wanted to share about step number 4. When I sit down here and click record on my video, I really don't know what I'm going to say. I just have a few ideas, and I just go inside and let it speak through or as me. And that feels really good, because then I feel I am in that energy, and the energy is transmitting itself to those who resonate with it. So now it feels like I've come to the end of these 4 steps. It is, of course, what I talk about all the time, because in my reality, there is not much else going on. That there is here a divine being who is also identified with a non-divine being, or a dark energy, or a heavy limiting energy. And it's a matter of letting go here and coming back here. So, my friends, if this resonates with you, feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, anything like that. I think this is something we all need to be aware of, how we're stuck in something that we're not, and that there is a way out. So that's why I'm sharing it, because it feels alive and real and important if we want to wake up. So thank you for letting me share these 4 steps with you. And yeah, I hope to connect with you and hear how it all lands for you. And I look forward to connecting soon. Have a great day.